Hello, people of Earth and elsewhere. Welcome to the show where the content is spam and I am Crackers. Today's spam is for the anime fans. I'll be redrawing a screenshot from the ever-popular Jojo's Bizarre Adventure while reviewing its recent stateside DVD release. Now, without further ado, it's time to discuss the good, the bad, and the outright cringeworthy. I suppose I'll get the discussion of the actual DVD over with first. It's pretty generic, and the setup is a disappointment right off the bat. It consists of simply 3 discs with about 9 episodes each. Non-animated title screens and few options makes the menu easy enough to navigate, but with nothing but the show itself and a few extra language options, it comes across as rather lackluster. Then when you realize that only the title screen has music, and not even from the soundtrack playing in the background, it gets us wondering exactly how seriously Warner Brothers was taking this project in the first place. The DVD box itself is also nothing out of the ordinary. In fact, it's pretty cheap, so if you value your video collection, this should probably be stored in a safe place or risk some easy-to-come-by damage. Though this seems to bring the review to a rather negative beginning, I will say that the format takes little priority over the dub job itself, so we should probably get to the point that you're watching this video for, eh? Well, to make a long story short, the dub averages out to being pretty standard. Some of the voice performances were nothing short of perfect, but then there were some that almost made my ears bleed, they were so painful to listen to. The addition of appropriate accents and the English jargon added a flair to the dub that only dub can have, and I'll say it now, I had more fun watching the English version than I did the Japanese. I'm gonna go ahead and start out with the greats and then work my way down. Dio Brando and Joseph Joestar are no doubt the best voices of their respective parts. These two are a couple of cases where you can swear that you hear how much fun the actors were having when they were playing these roles. The only valid complaint about either of these two you could get from people who don't hate dubs in general is the change in the dialogue. Dio's ever-important "I reject my humanity" and several of Joseph's signature "oh no's" are taken out and replaced. And to be fair, I was just as disappointed by this as the next guy. This isn't to say that the script adaptation was horrendous, but even with the fairly good replacement lines, Jojo fans aren't going to let that slide by, and it's a bit of a bad turn for people trying to give this dub the benefit of the doubt. That being said, Patrick Sates was able to be everything I wanted and more as Dio's voice, to the point where I actually replayed several scenes and watched episode 3 repeatedly just so that I could hear it again. And then there was Ben Diskin, whose voice is, I'll admit, a bit higher than I imagined for Joseph, but I got over that really fast because he brought out Jojo's snarky and hilarious personality to a T. These two pieces of the dub managed to make me love the characters even more, if that's even possible. As far as the rest of the main cast, I'd say that they fall into the good category, as far as vocals go anyway. There's no person who I think is miscast in the entire dub. The main girls, Arena, Lisa, Suzy Q, they were all spot on, and I gotta give props to the script adapters for the brilliance that I thought was REO Speedwagon. Seriously, he had some of the best lines. Then you have characters who are almost on the lines of being just okay. I have to talk about my misgivings concerning the casting choices of Jonathan and Caesar. Whether or not whoever cast Johnny Young Bosch as Jonathan Joestar was trying to be clever, I think it would have been more appropriate to wait for the actual Johnny Joestar to make that into a joke. Luckily for the dub, Bosch manages to bring us a nice performance even with his somewhat shaky British accent, and the fact that anyone who's seen Bleach will no doubt hear Ichigo Kurosaki when Jojo yells his dialogue, which is necessary for the show. But what are you gonna do? It happens. Even more so, I have to say I was more than apprehensive when I found out that Caesar was going to be voiced by Bryce Papenbrook. Now, I have nothing against Papenbrook as a voice actor in general, but as far as casting him for Caesar, I couldn't bring myself to hear him as such an important character. I was pleasantly surprised by how well it turned out, but altogether, I'm still kind of iffy on whether or not he was the right choice. Not bad, not bad. He managed to pull off the Italian accent pretty well, I'll give him that. On that note, a moment to remember Will A. Zeppeli, whose English voice was spot on, but could have used a bit more of an Italian accent, I think. Then by contrast, we have Stroheim and all the Germans, who had accents maybe a little bit too thick for us to understand the dialogue, regardless of whether or not it was changed. Well, whether or not you consider it good or bad is up for debate in the comments section. Now, in order from great to just meh, the Pillarmen rank in this order, assuming that you can get past the name changes. Wamu was the best by far, and AC/DC and San Viento managed to be good enough for the amount of time that they were given. However, as much as I can't complain about the choice for Carr's voice, I feel the acting job behind him was rather lackluster. This happens for most of the three-line characters as well as Strizo, where a good voice doesn't really make up for poor acting. I want to say that since this was frequent when I was listening to the delivery of the lines, that it was more of a directing problem and there might not have been a lot of time to get this project done, so it was too rushed for its own good. But if that's true, why didn't I get my DVD 3 months earlier? Well, whatever the case, sometimes it added to the ridiculous and campy experience that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and it's supposed to be that way, but other times it actually took away from how seriously it's supposed to be taken at key points. Well, I guess the final thing I have to bring up about the dub is the one terrible voice that definitely made my ears bleed. Yes, I am talking about the narrator. I can complain to the sun and the moon about him, and you can complain all you want to because I won't blame you for hating on the narration job. It sucked. Remember when I said that there was no one who was miscast? Well, I guess that's for characters who actually have names. I lied. The narrator was totally poorly done. I mean, is that what he sounds like in the Japanese too? Yee. No, just no. If a couple of poorly delivered lines can make important scenes lackluster, this guy just turned it into something completely anticlimactic. To avoid copyright strikes and all that, I haven't played any clips for you, so you're taking my word on this if you haven't seen the dub, but really, I hope he's recast in the redub of the next part because I really don't want to have to deal with that in Stardust Crusaders. It was the worst, if anything, when it comes to this dub. So let's summarize. Overall, the dub, as I said before, is pretty standard. It has a lot of ups and downs and averages out to being pretty good. I have to say that without key characters being as great as they were, the dub would have just been fine or okay as it is. It's not too good, but I guess it's not Warner Brothers' fault entirely because they don't exactly have Funimation's reputation or experience with dubs in the first place. That being said, it's substantially better than the OVAs from way back when, and on a personal level, I loved it enough to recommend it to people. At least people whose faith in humanity is not easily destroyed by poorly delivered lines or unwanted dialogue adaptations. In the interest of future and potentially better dubs, I'd have to say that if you like Jojos and want to support more merchandising and distribution in English-speaking countries, you should probably buy this DVD. Maybe you should have somewhere better to store the discs in and throw away the box, but we as the fans do need to show an interest in this or risk never getting anything better than this dub. Who knows, we might even get some Blu-rays or special features in the future, but it won't happen unless we're willing to fund them. The upside is, even at this point, the DVD is bilingual, so even if the English makes your ears bleed, the subtitles and Japanese audio are always an option that are open to you. If you managed to stick through this bizarre and rather unprofessional review all the way, thank you ever so kindly for giving me the time. Feel free to comment below telling me and other viewers what you think of the current state of the dub and what can be done to improve future endeavors into JoJo's less than ideal language adaptation. Like what you see? Suggest future reviews and artistic attempts, and remember, I'm always open to constructive criticism. Thank you once again for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Ciao! Yeah, I know I said artistic earlier, but I'm not really sure by whose standards this can be called art. It's rather funny looking, and honestly, I think that it's missing something. Just give me a moment. There we go. Haha, now it's art. If you're interested in any more of my JoJo fan stuffs, make sure that you check out the link to my DeviantArt page in the description below.